Audrey Bowen was a 34-year-old registered nurse at Seattle's Harborview Medical Center, a role that required absolute composure in the middle of chaos. She spent 11 years moving between trauma curtains, hanging IV bags, and stabilizing patients brought in from highway pileups. She was a professional who thrived when the stakes were highest. Outside the hospital, her life was shaped by a quiet, structural isolation. Following a divorce, her days were built around rigid routines: half marathons, volunteering at a free clinic, and quiet nights in her condo with her cat, General. This solitude wasn't an emergency. It was a load-bearing part of her daily architecture, invisible but significant. Within 1 year, this seasoned trauma nurse sent $23,500 to a man in West Africa she had never touched. She flew 9,000 miles to Lagos, Nigeria to marry him, only to be found 26 days later, murdered and abandoned in 4 suitcases. The immediate reaction to a story like this is often a cynical one, assuming that Audrey must have been uniquely foolish or naive, but the evidence suggests something far more complex was at work. Audrey's trajectory reveals the mechanics of a highly engineered digital illusion. It demonstrates how a patient, curated fiction can eventually override the physical reality of a seasoned medical professional. The predator bypassed her defenses by avoiding dating apps entirely. Instead, he targeted Audrey in a Facebook group for travel photography. When she posted a photo of a sunrise on Mount Rainier, he reached out with a compliment, framing their first interaction as a chance meeting between artists. He called himself Ikenna. His digital footprint was perfectly calibrated to Audrey's desire for stability. He had a professional LinkedIn profile as a civil engineer, a firm website, and social media filled with photos of construction sites, his mother at church, and his golden retriever. To a casual observer, it was a documented, wholesome life. The communication escalated from Facebook comments to daily WhatsApp messages, and eventually hours-long video calls. Audrey would lie in her bedroom, while Ikenna sat in a Lagos apartment, the ceiling fan turning behind him and the sound of Nigerian traffic drifting through the window. These calls created a potent, though entirely artificial, sense of physical presence. He spoke in a deep, unhurried voice about building a family compound with a garden where she could grow tomatoes. These specific promises were designed to fill the vacuum left by her failed marriage, offering a vision of the future that seemed both grand and attainable. This tactic is known as mirroring. By studying a target's history and reflecting their specific desires back to them, a predator bypasses natural skepticism before a single financial request is ever made. The first financial request was a calculated test of her empathy. Ikenna told her his mother needed emergency surgery, and the hospital required $2,000 up front. He weaponized Audrey's core identity as a nurse, and she didn't hesitate to send the money. This timeline shows the rapid acceleration of the extraction: $3,000 for construction bridge financing, $4,000 for building materials. By targeting her empathy, he turned her savings into a financial investment in their shared future. By September, the line hits its peak. Audrey had funneled $23,500, more than half of her life savings, into the illusion. Her family and friends saw the red flags clearly. Her mother warned her that real people can still lie, and her best friend made her promise to leave the moment something felt wrong. Audrey even felt a cold instinct of her own, drafting a secret will before her departure, yet she continued with the trip. This is the sunk cost fallacy in action. When an individual invests this much time and money into a vision, the psychological cost of admitting they've been conned becomes heavier than the risk of continuing the lie. Audrey landed in Lagos in November. The sensory shift was immediate. She left the controlled, rainy streets of Seattle for the thick heat and overwhelming noise of Murtala Muhammad International Airport, stepping directly into the reality she had previously only seen on a screen. The fiction began to collapse when Ikenna took her to see their future home. Instead of the $23,000 construction project she expected, she found a concrete foundation with rusted rebar and no workers. It was a skeleton worth a fraction of what she had paid. The final realization hit in a sparse apartment on the edge of the city. Alone with her laptop, Audrey searched his firm one more time. The office address was a vacant lot. The website was dead. The man sleeping in the next room was performing a life that did not exist. On a Tuesday morning at 5:47 a.m., Audrey's survival instinct finally took over. She packed her suitcase and reached for her passport, prepared to face the humiliation of her mistake if it meant she could go home. A digital illusion relies on the target staying behind the safety of a screen. In this instance, when Audrey attempted to physically withdraw her compliance and take back her passport, the scammer's control vanished and the financial scheme turned into a fatal confrontation. Audrey's attempt to leave resulted in her murder. Her body was dismembered and hidden in 4 suitcases, left in a drainage culvert near the Lekki-Epe Expressway. She remained there for 26 days before a local farmer noticed the smell. The man she knew as Ikenna was actually 39-year-old Chukwudi Eze. He was not an engineer. He was a career fraudster who had been arrested twice before for targeting women in romance scams. This network map shows that Eze was part of a coordinated syndicate. By tracing Western Union accounts and burner phones, investigators linked this group to over $400,000 extracted from victims across 7 different countries. The investigation relied on cross-border cooperation and digital forensics. By tracking GPS data from Audrey's phone and coordinating through Interpol, the Lagos State Police were able to identify and arrest the individuals involved in the murder and the disposal of her remains. When police eventually raided Eze's hotel room, they found him already messaging his next target, a 57-year-old retired teacher in Ohio. She had already sent him $11,000. These syndicates use systematic psychological pressure to bypass a target's logic. Audrey's story highlights the danger of silencing the instinct that surfaces when a flawless digital image finally meets the flawed reality of the physical world.